For psychology, oh, that's another very long, complicated story, because the I modified psychology and applied psychology so that every or any average person could understand. It wasn't the usual language being used by psychologists, always referring to their books. And not only that, but when they asked you questions, at the end of that, shall we say, interview session with them, if you spent half an hour with them or 1 hour with them, you paid quite a bit of money, sometimes up to £200 for one attendance. Now, and invariably they said, whoever it was, your next appointment will be in 2 weeks' time. So you had to make another appointment, and that's another worry. You have to save another £200 just to come and see someone who won't give you a clear answer, but who will tell you at the end of that, your next appointment is in 2 weeks' time again. And that is the professional program. They've got to earn their money. They've been studying psychology for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So it's natural. They're professional people. So I had studied psychology and applied psychology, and when I was called up before this group of people who were very important, they said to me, Mr. Percival, we hear that you're not charging anything for your services. I said, that's right, I'm not charging anything. He said, why aren't you? I said, well, they've got problems enough before they come for any kind of advice, you can call it advice, or any sort of information back to them. Now, if they come to you, you have to charge them. You've got an office, I've just got my own hotel. So, and I see so many people, because of interest rates being so high, that they are being driven to despair in one avenue or another or another or another, to ordinary financial worries to marriage breakups. And I said, now that in itself is a very big strain on anyone. So I said, why should I add another strain onto them, or another burden onto them, by charging them even £100? They have to find £100.
It's a lot of money.
And then come back again and back again. So it is an ongoing pressure which could drive them over the edge. So I said, I would rather help people with my own style of psychology, which is not in the book, but is taken in substance from the books of psychology. But I have modified it and translated it in a way so that it can be understood by an ordinary person. Excuse the word ordinary, but the ordinary person means any average person. They don't have to know the psychological language which you speak. I said, I can talk to them in the language they understand. And I also teach them how to empower themselves so they can help themselves resolve their problems. And they said, you can? I said, yep, I can, and I have done it. So they and I fell out big time. So, but I still didn't charge because people were undergoing so much strain and hardship just to keep their lives together. So it only took me a little bit of time, a few hours, but because I was teaching them, the individual, how to empower themselves, they did it by themselves. Because my opening question to them was, I said, in your big problems of life, would you even tell your mum everything? And the answer has always come back, no. They'll tell mum most of it, but there are some things which they wouldn't even tell their mum. So, are they going to tell a psychologist who's a stranger? They certainly wouldn't. So, because I was empowering them to unravel problems and make them just into issues, they could do it themselves because they knew everything what really troubled them. So instead of doing 90%, they knew 100%. And so they used to go home and they used to try it out and try it out. And every now and again I should get a call and they say, can you help me again? And I should just help a little bit with guidance, just to top them up, to put them back on track, to answer their questions. So it didn't take me a lot of effort, but they were doing all the hard work themselves. But in doing their own hard work, they understood themselves more, which gave them a better understanding of life and what life was all about. They became realistic. They became lateral thinkers even. So that was the whole direction which I took this applied psychology towards, was towards a different direction as the normal.
Do you have an example? Do you have like an example of someone coming to you with like some type of
I
product?
had so many even when I was in the hotel business. At this age, when I'm not in touch with people, of course I haven't. But when when I had my hotels, it was never ending. Even before I went to the hotel business, when I was in marketing, and I met people who then had problems. And that's when I shall we say, played around with this particular factor, and that is how could applied psychology be used by the average person themselves to resolve or solve their own problems with just a little help, maybe, from any friend who they don't have to tell them much. And it also went into the realms of, I would say, another area where it went into was mind power, because you had to remember, recall. It was all a case of how to recall things by association of things.
And that's where you use your hands as
That's
well?
when you use your hands and fingers. And you can do that instead of having pen and paper, you touch your fingers. Now, it's amazing how much electricity is there at the tips of your fingers. Now, people don't realize that. But that can be connected with your brain. So literally just by saying, now what was I thinking about? Now what was I thinking about? And you rub that finger, and just with a little bit of practice, it's amazing how you can recall not only one object, but a multiple number of objects, because your brain can work laterally. They can work on different problems, because my explanation to that is that problems are not just problems which come along by themselves. Problems are caused by neglecting situations. So I likened it to a closed fist. That is a problem. So what you have to do is identify, this is a mind recall, and identify what is a situation related to that problem. And you can work through your digits. And once you can remember 4, 5 situations which have got you into that problem. It's never one situation which gets you into a problem. It's always a number of situations which lead into a problem. So once you have identified it, remember, nobody else can identify that for you. You can identify it because you know you. So you identify that, and then by using your thumb, you can work up your own solutions. You can say, now that's the situation. Now, once you've identified the situation, then you try to work out how that situation can be solved. And therefore you work out situation by situation. Sometimes you can solve maybe 2 out of the 5. So you've still got 3 situations there, which is tough. But you may have started resolving one of the situations, so that is a bent finger. So the next time you're having coffee somewhere or just relaxing, this is when you're at peace with yourself. You can rub that finger and suddenly it clicks. You don't have to look for your pad and pencil because it's somewhere else. And then that's a distraction for your mind. Whereas if you identify it literally just by your touch factor, you can recall it. If you practice it for a little while, it's surprisingly how quickly you can learn how to identify what that finger is connected with. And then you say, yes, I remember now. Yes, I can do that and that. Now if I do, and that's also connected with 2 which I've already solved. So really, that one, I can solve it as well. So what are you left with? You're left with 2 then. So you gradually work your way through, and because they're all interconnected, to give you that problem, it's activating your brain. So you'll never get Alzheimer's. Because your sense of imagination or lateral thinking is going to be improved every time you try this. What people call meditation. But when you do meditation, you try to create a blank, wipe out your memory and what you see. But then you've got a blank screen. All right, if some people find that interesting, so be it. I find that it is far more interesting if you've got a screen and you can put interesting designs on it. Then you can make a picture. When you've got a picture, then you can improve that picture. And when you've enlarged it and twisted it and doing your various modifications, you suddenly find, wow, you've got a masterpiece there. And how have you done it? By using your mind. So it's all in the mind. You don't have to have pen and paper, or you don't have to be an artist. You can create that picture in your mind. So when you close your eyes, you can project that picture anywhere. So that is the ability you get by using this system of lateral thinking connected with mind power and memory.
So you're helping each individual to solve their own problems.
Yes.
There's no one solution that's going to work.
It's memory recall, because memory recall is so important, because there's so many times that people forget. They think of something and they say, "No, I must go and get something in a shopping mall," and they forget their list. The list is at home. But if they've got a good memory recall, you can say, no, that I had, wanted that, and that. Ah, yes, I needed that as well. So off they go to the counter, and they get that. So they've got their shopping list. It's only because they can recall and kind of reconnect with what they have got to what they haven't got on the list. It's an association in the connection. So it has to be explained in more detail, but if you try it out in stages, you can build it up and build it up and build it up, and it's amazing how much, I would say, memory retention and memory recall and mind power you can have in a year's time, because you keep on trying it out without writing it down, or if you want to, you can always get yourself an ordinary exercise book and this is what I also had, was to anything, like if you got the problem and you've got your solution, so when you open up your book, you got your left-hand side and your right-hand side of the book. So on your left-hand page, which is past, that's what I call history. The right side is the future, because that's where the pages are blank and you can write your new stuff. So on the problems that you have, you can write out the actual problems, space them out, and then on the right hand side you start putting in the solutions. It gives you a kickstart before you could use your fingers. Or if you can connect the two together, that's the most effective, because you can always double check on yourself.
If you've remembered it.
So it's simple, really, because when you think of something and you say, I've got a very bad memory, I've got so much on my mind, all right, get out of blank, your blank sheet, turn it over, put a heading on top as to what is a particular thing which you want to attend to, and then you've got your left-hand page and your right-hand page. So you don't have to go to your left hand and your right hand. It's just like when you're trying to analyze friendships. Left and right hand is very useful, because you can always say, what am I getting from that person, and what am I giving to that person? Now, if you're only getting two things that you like, which you believe is really working towards your soulmate connection, but you can offer 5, the balance isn't correct, is it? 2 against 5. If you can get up to 4 to 5, it's near enough, because then you can always compromise and make your adjustments so that eventually you can lock together. But this is what how I used to explain friendship, and that is, if you got 1 on this side and 5 on this side, now you're able to give 5, they're able to give 1, you lock the two together. You see how easy you can pull it apart? You can't grip it. You put 2, it's more difficult to pull apart. You get 3, it's even more difficult. If you get 4 and 5 interlocked that way, you can never pull it apart. So that's what I call getting your balance right.